Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Onondaga County Elections Onondaga County Elections Commissioner, Democrat. Today is Monday, June 19th. I'm coming to you a little bit early, a day early, for my normal Tuesday Commissioner in car, but that's because tomorrow on Tuesday are June village elections. You may say, wait a minute, what do you mean? You have also going on early voting. You were talking about that about last week. Well, we also are administering June village elections. There are two villages having elections in Onondaga County. One of them is the village of North Syracuse. That is a village that the Board of Elections actually runs that election for them. So, and then of course, then there's the village of Liverpool, which is probably, you've seen a lot of stuff on TV, and I've had that here as well. But that is an election run by the village of Liverpool. So let's talk about that. You may remember that villages can choose when to hold their elections. They have 3 dates they can hold them in, either in March, in June, or November. If it's in November, the Board of Elections always runs it, and it's 100% cost effective, or 100% cost, 0% cost to the villages, because the Board of Elections is already running an election that year and every year, and we pick up the costs for that. So, but if a village holds their election in March or June, they have a couple of different options. They can run the election themselves without any help from the Board of Elections. Some villages still do that. Some villages ask us to just use their machines. And then some villages ask us to run their elections entirely. In North Syracuse, we are running their election entirely. What does that mean? That means that we send out the absentees. We do all the voter registration work. We're going to have a poll print unit out there to print ballots on demand with our electronic poll books. Everything that you would normally see in a regular election, with the exception of early voting and pre-scanning of absentees, goes into that June North Syracuse election. In the village of Liverpool, traditionally the village of Liverpool has run their own elections. However, they have contracted with the Board of Elections this year to use our machines. So that means our image cast scanners. So they are going to be using those scanners to report results on election night, and of course then they count their absentees themselves and report those totals. However, the village clerk is still in charge of that election, so the Board of Elections doesn't have anything to do with it other than we gave their machine, we programmed their ballot, and so that you won't even see electronic poll books out there. You won't see a poll print out there. We only give those out if we're running the election, because those are our proprietary equipment, and you have to have special training to run those. Now, there are competitive races in both the village of North Syracuse and the village of Liverpool. There are some consistencies as well. Both villages are open from noon to 9 for polling. So the village of Liverpool will be holding their polling at Liverpool Village Hall, and the village of North Syracuse will be holding their polling at the North Syracuse Community Center. And so that's happening tomorrow, noon to 9. So if you're in the villages, it doesn't matter what party you belong to, you can go out and vote. In the village of Liverpool is probably the most hotly contested race in 20 years. In the village of Liverpool, they have competitive races. Republicans and Democrats have both put candidates forward, and they're up and down on the mayor. There's one mayor and 2 council seats or village board seats, and Republicans and Democrats have both put him forward. Now, you may say, well, wait a minute, I thought villages were nonpartisan. Well, actually, the village of Liverpool and the village of North Syracuse are actually traditionally partisan villages. There is no law saying a village has to be partisan or nonpartisan. And in Onondaga County, we have a variety of villages, and depending on who you talk to, what candidates are running. In some villages, the Republicans run candidates, but the Democrats run on a non-traditional line, or other people run the non-traditional lines. In some cases, all candidates run on non-traditional lines, and in some cases, like we see in Liverpool and North Syracuse, the parties have been involved, and they have slates of candidates that they have put up there, and they also appear on other lines as well. But essentially, in both Liverpool and North Syracuse, Democrats versus Republicans in these villages, and that's the way it's always been in these villages. In North Syracuse, there's a village board race. There are 3 candidates vying for 2 seats, 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans. So in both North Syracuse and Liverpool, there are races tomorrow. This has made it very busy here at the Board of Elections, because in assisting both of these elections and running one of them, but we're also in the middle of early voting. Today was day 3 of early voting. Right now, things are, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but also we're ruling on petitions for independent nominating petitions. Those were due on May 31st. However, we're just getting into the ruling on the objections portion of that. We've had like 7 or 8 different contests that we've had to do rulings on, and those will be coming to an end on either Friday or Monday. So sometime next week, I will do a post about which candidates remained on the ballot from the independent nominating petitions. But know that that's going on at the Board of Elections while we're also getting ready for Election Day and administering early voting and these village elections and, preparing for the general election, because we're going to get new voting machines in the general election. So there's a lot going on. Plus, we're also deploying the highest number of poll prints ever. That's just ballot on demand machines on Election Day in this primary. All 74 sites that we have open are going to get a ballot on demand, which is going to save the taxpayers a lot of money in wasted ballots. But also, it's going to be more accurate for the voters that are going to the polls. So we've been busy working on that as well. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's talk about early voting. Right now, we're at about 364 early votings for the first 3 days. Definitely not like something that's like breaking all kinds of speed records. However, the 2023 primary has about 56,000 eligible voters in it. That is why we've only opened up 5 sites. We actually technically only had to open up, probably 4 sites. We opened up 1 more than we needed to, based on the region and the number of voters. And that's because we have, Democratic primary in the city of Syracuse, so we opened up all 3 sites there. And then we had a Republican primary in Salina, which is in the northern suburbs, and a Republican primary in Pompey, which is in the south eastern suburbs. So we opened up Lafayette Fire Station for the southeast, and Salina Town Hall. We have a temporary early voting site there. That means it's only this primary to be able to service those voters. But then we also have a conservative primary countywide, and so we made sure that those early voting sites in the north and southeast can also service those, and of course the ones in Syracuse can service anybody as well. You can go to any of these sites. So in the first 3 days, but you really can't compare this like last year. Any even year election you can't compare it to. We've had a lot of discussions about turnout for early or for even years versus odd years. But really what matters most is the number of eligible voters that are eligible to vote in these primaries. In 2022, both the June and the August election had somewhere close to 200,000 eligible voters to vote in those primaries. Right now, we're only at 56,000. And the 2020 election again, that primary had about 200,000 eligible voters that could do it, because both Democrats and Republicans countywide were running. So really, all we can really compare this to is the 2021 primary, and in that primary, we had about 66,000 eligible voters. And we are, they, after 3 days of early voting for them, they only had about 200, for the 2021 primary, they only had about 260 or so, early votes in the first 3 days. So we're running ahead of the pace of the 2021 primary, with even 10,000 less eligible voters to vote in this primary. And you may remember the 2021 primary had high-profile races like the Democratic mayoral and the Republican mayoral, primaries as well. So the 2021 primary had pretty high-profile races going on that drove in more turnout. Yet more people are voting early than voted in the 2021 primary in 2023. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going to have massive turnout? Probably not. What it probably means is more people are voting early than voting absentee, because the pandemic excuse is no longer valid, and more people are voting early because they're used to it now. And the pandemic is ending. More people are comfortable going out in person, but they're used to actually voting at these early sites, and they feel confident in it. We are still seeing way more Democrats voting than Republicans, despite the primaries. But of course, way more Democrats are eligible to vote. About 44,000 of the 56,000 eligible voters are Democrats because of the city of Syracuse. So. But even then, it's still way more Democrats than Republicans. And of course, very few conservatives are actually voting as well early. We'll see if they end up showing up later. Now, usually the first 3 days of early voting is the lowest 3 days. And then the next 3 days is the second highest 3 days. And then the final 3 days is really where it hides. So we'll see if this actually starts to increase. But that's why I've been saying that early voting is growing, because it's not growing in the sense of that, it grew after last year. But what it is growing is more people that are eligible to vote, who are intending to vote, are actually choosing early voting than had been done before. Now, of course, Election Day is still the major one, but that will always be the major one, and that it will be a week from tomorrow. So lots to go here. Lots of busyness. I can't wait to show you after the election. We'll start talking about new voting machines coming in. A lot of exciting things coming with the Board of Elections. We'll also be talking about getting ready for the general election, and who our candidates will be after the primary. So lots of great stuff going on. So I really hope that you keep tuning in. Again, this week, I'll do a little self-promotion. This weekend I did release a video. I didn't release it. Washington Post released a video that I was in. And also Issue 1 did a telepanel that I was in about our trip to Washington, D.C. Obviously, I don't know what else to say about that. That was such a formative and incredible experience for me. And I'm so proud to be a part of this group. So check those out. They're on my website, dustizardi.com. We also are, tomorrow is the final day of session for the Assembly. We'll see if any election law changes get done, and then maybe sometime after the election, I'll do a recap of election law changes that were passed in the 2023. And there were some. There's about 14 chapters already. We could see at least 3 to 4 more chapters passed tomorrow by the Assembly. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then, of course, they got to be signed by the governor. So there's still a little time on a lot of these things, including the even year bill that's gotten so much attention. That's about it. Liverpool Together are the Village Democratic candidates in Liverpool are Liverpool Together, and they said, "Aren't I fancy?" in the comments. No, I am not. Look, I'm wearing a Marvel t-shirt. I'm not that fancy, but I did have a great experience in DC. All right. Well, that's all I got. Please go out and vote tomorrow if you're in the village of Liverpool or the village of North Syracuse. If you are a Democrat in the city of Syracuse, please go out and early vote. You can do it tomorrow. It'll be open from 10 to 6, noon to 8 on Wednesday and Thursday, 10 to 6 on Friday, and 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. You can go to onvote.net, check your registration, check your check where your polling places are. And if you're a conservative, you can vote early as well for the district attorney race. And if you're Republicans in Salina and Pompey and listening to my program, please vote in your races out there. So that's all I got. Please vote. And I will do another commissioner in a car next Monday night, which will be right before election eve. Sometimes I've been trying to do those early in the morning, and they just don't work out. That my brain isn't functioning at 4 a.m. when I get up for voting. So I'm going to try to do that on Monday night, and then after the primary in July, I'll get back to my regular schedule of having a weekly commissioner in a car, a weekly Zoom and Zarni, and a weekly wonk. And that will be for the June or in July, and there's going to be a lot of reasons why we got to talk. So I'm really excited about a lot of things that are coming our way. So stay tuned. Go to DustinZarni.com. You can subscribe and get a notification anytime I post an article or content or election news that you may want to see. So thank you very much and enjoy your night. Bye-bye.